The ship landed on Station Orange 7 just as the twin suns began to set. The metal doors opened with a loud hiss. 4 soldiers walked out first. They carried weapons that glowed with blue light. Behind them came a floating cage made of pure energy. Inside the cage sat a human. Director Bale watched from the landing platform. He had 7 long arms and skin that changed color with his mood. Right now, his skin was bright yellow. This meant he was excited. After 17 long years of failed missions, his team had finally done it. They had captured a living human. The cage floated past him. Bale looked at the creature inside. The human was smaller than he expected. It had no claws, no sharp teeth, no armor on its soft pink skin. Just 2 arms, 2 legs, and a round head covered with black hair. The human looked back at Bale. Their eyes met. Bale felt something strange in that moment. The human did not look afraid. It did not scream or cry or beat against the walls on its cage. It simply sat there, watching him with calm, dark eyes. Interesting, Bale whispered to himself. They took the human to the observation center. This was a large room with thick glass walls. Inside was a space designed to look like a human habitat. There was a bed, a table, some chairs, and a small bathroom. Everything was white and clean. The soldiers lowered the energy cage into the room. They pressed a button and the cage walls disappeared. The human stood up slowly. He looked around at his new home. Then he walked to the bed and sat down on it. "Begin recording," Bale ordered. A small flying robot came to life. It floated near the glass, pointing its camera at the human. "Subject is male," Bale spoke into his recorder. "Approximate age is 30 to 40 Earth years. Height is average for the species. Weight is average. No visible injuries from capture." He paused and looked at his data screen. The soldiers had found documents on the human's crashed ship. The documents said his name was Park Dawn. His job was listed as agricultural engineer. Bale made a sound like laughing. "A farmer. We spent 17 years and millions of credits, and we captured a farmer." His assistant, a thin creature named Kath, moved closer to the glass. She had green scales and large orange eyes. "Director, look at how he moves. He's examining the room, checking the corners, touching the walls." "He is confused," Bale said. "Animals often do this in new environments." "Perhaps," Kath said. But she did not sound sure. Park Dawn finished his examination of the room. He found the small device that gave food and water when buttons were pressed. He pressed a button. A cup of water came out. He smelled it first, then took a small sip. Then he drank the rest. "Smart enough to find the feeding station," Bale noted. "Good survival instincts." Dohan looked directly at the glass wall. He could not see through it from his side. The glass was designed to look like a normal wall to him. But somehow, he seemed to know they were watching. He raised one hand and waved. Keth jumped back in surprise. Bale's skin turned purple, which meant confusion. "Did he just wave at us?" Keth asked. "Coincidence," Bale said quickly. "He cannot see us. The glass is one way. He was probably just stretching." But Dawn smiled as if he had heard them. Then he walked to the bed and lay down. Within minutes, he was asleep. The research team watched him for hours. They watched him sleep. They watched him wake up. They watched him eat breakfast and do strange movements called exercises. They watched him walk around the room and touch things. "Why does he touch everything?" asked a young researcher named Yol. She had worked at the station for only 2 years. This was her first time seeing a human up close. "Humans learn through touch," Kath explained. "Their skin has many sensors. They gather information through physical contact." "But he has already touched everything in the room," Yol said. "Multiple times." This was true. Dohan touched the same objects again and again. The walls, the bed frame, the food machine, the edges of the glass. Each time, he seemed to be measuring something, calculating something. Bale did not like this. Increase security around the observation center. I want guards at every door. Do you think he will try to escape? Keth asked. I think, Bale said slowly, that we should not underestimate this creature. Days passed. Dawn established a routine. He woke at the same time each day. He exercised. He ate. He walked around the room exactly 100 times. He slept, but he also did something else. He watched. The research team realized this on the 5th day. They were supposed to be observing him. Instead, he was observing them. Every time a researcher walked past the glass, Dahan's eyes would follow. He could not see them, but he could hear their footsteps. He could hear their voices through the walls. He was learning the schedule of the station. He was counting how many people worked there. He was listening to their language. This is concerning, Keth said to Bale in his office. The subject shows signs of high intelligence, higher than our initial estimates. Bale's skin turned gray, the color of worry. He is still just an animal. A clever animal, but an animal. Continue the study. The council expects results. But deep down, Bale felt something he had not felt in many years. He felt uncertain. The human in the glass room was not acting like a captured beast. He was acting like someone waiting for the right moment. The question was, the right moment for what? 2 weeks passed since the human arrived at Station Orange 7. The research team collected thousands of hours of footage. They wrote hundreds of reports. They measured everything about Park Dohan that could be measured. His heart rate, his breathing, his sleep patterns, the sounds he made, but they could not understand him. The subject speaks to himself, Keth reported during the morning meeting. He says words in his language. Sometimes he laughs. Sometimes he looks sad. We do not know why. What does he say? Bale asked. We do not know. Our translation software is still learning his language. Bale waved one of his 7 arms in frustration. Then learn faster. The council wants answers. The truth was, Dohan was not just speaking to himself. He was practicing. Every night, when the lights went dim, he would sit on his bed and whisper words. But they were not human words. They were Arinthian words. He had been listening, learning, building a vocabulary in his mind. Yol was the first to discover this. She worked the night shift. It was boring work. Nothing happened at night. Dawn slept, and she sat at her desk and wrote reports. But one night, she heard something strange. A voice, speaking her language. She walked to the glass wall and listened. Hello, the voice said. Can anyone hear me? Yol's heart nearly stopped. The voice was coming from inside the observation room. From the human? I know someone is there, Dohan continued. His accent was strange. His words were slow, but they were real Arinthian words. I can hear you breathing. Your species makes a clicking sound when you breathe. Did you know that? Yol did not know what to do. Protocol said she should report this immediately. But something held her in place. Curiosity, fear, wonder. My name is Dohan, the human said. I am not your enemy. I just want to talk. Yol found her voice. You should not be able to speak our language. Why not? Because you are... She did not know how to finish. Because I am an animal? Dohan suggested. There was no anger in his voice. Only a gentle sadness. I understand. You see a creature in a cage. You think there is nothing inside but instinct and hunger. But I am more than that. I think you know this. Yol sat down on the floor, her back against the glass. She should leave. She should tell Director Bale, but she stayed. "How did you learn our words?" she asked. I listened. Your people talk a lot when they think no one important is hearing. I picked up words here and there. Grammar took longer, but I had nothing else to do. That is impossible. Our language takes years to learn. I had good motivation. They talked for 3 hours that night. Dohan asked questions about the station, about her job, about her life. Yol found herself answering without thinking. It felt good to talk to someone who actually listened. "You seem tired," Doan said at one point. "Do they not let you rest?" Yol looked at the ground. "I work double shifts. There is no one else to cover. The station is understaffed. That sounds hard. It is my duty." "Duty is important," Dohan agreed. "But so is taking care of yourself. Where I come from, we have a saying. You cannot pour water from an empty cup." Yol thought about this for a long time after she left that night. She came back the next night, and the night after that. Each time, she told herself it was for research purposes. She was gathering information about human behavior. But the truth was simpler than that. She was lonely, and the human in the cage was kind to her. Word spread quietly among the staff. The human could talk. The human was friendly. One by one, other workers found excuses to visit the observation room. They pretended to check equipment, to run tests. But really, they came to speak with Dawn. The maintenance worker named Ro was next. He was a large creature with thick gray skin and small eyes. His job was to fix broken machines. Nobody paid attention to him. Nobody thanked him for his work. "Why do you do a job that makes you unhappy?" Dohan asked him one day. Ro shifted his weight from foot to foot. "I do not choose. My supervisor assigns me. He gives me the worst jobs because he does not like me." "Why does he not like you?" "I do not know. I have done nothing wrong." Dohan was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes people are cruel because they are scared. Your supervisor might be afraid that you are better at the job than he is. So he pushes you down to feel taller." Ro had never thought of it that way. "What should I do?" "Keep doing good work. Be proud of what you do. His opinion does not change who you are." These conversations continued. More staff members came. A young researcher named Han, who hated her job but was afraid to quit. A cook named Sue, who missed her family back home. A guard named Tae, who felt invisible among his coworkers. Doan listened to all of them. He asked questions. He offered thoughts. He never judged. He never laughed at their problems. He just treated them like they mattered. "Why do you help us?" Yo asked one night. "We are your captors. We put you in this cage." Dawn smiled. It was a warm smile, though also tired. "You are not my captors. You are just people doing what you were told to do. The ones who ordered my capture are not here. And even if they were, I would probably talk to them too. But why? Because kindness is free. It costs nothing to be good to people. And you never know what someone is carrying inside. Your cook, Sue, she cries at night because she has not seen her children in 3 years. Your guard, Tae, he thinks no one notices him. But I notice. Everyone deserves to be noticed." Yo felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not understand why. Her species rarely cried. "You are strange," she said. "Your people must all be very strange." "Maybe," Dawn agreed. "Or maybe we just learned something that other species forget. We learned that connection is survival. Alone, we are weak. Together, we are strong. And the first step to being together is simply talking." Back in his office, Director Bale received reports about the night visits. He read them with growing alarm. The human was contaminating his staff, changing them, making them ask questions they had never asked before. This was not how the study was supposed to go. Increase isolation protocols, Bale ordered. No one speaks to the subject without my approval. But he was already too late. The seed had been planted. And seeds, as any farmer knows, are very hard to stop once they start to grow. By the fourth week, Station Orange 7 was divided. Half the staff followed Director Bale's orders. They stayed away from the observation room. They did not speak to the human. They wrote their reports and kept their heads down. These were the obedient ones. The careful ones. The ones who had learned that asking questions only brought trouble. The other half found ways to visit Dohan anyway. They came during shift changes, during meal breaks, during the quiet hours when no one was watching. They told themselves it was curiosity, scientific interest. But the truth was deeper. They came because the humans saw them, really saw them. And that feeling was more valuable than safety. YO was now visiting every night. She had stopped pretending it was for research. She sat by the glass and talked to Doan for hours. He told her about Earth, about his farm in a country called Korea, about his family, his parents who were no longer alive, his sister who worried about him, his small house next to green fields. Do you miss it? Yol asked. Every moment of every day. Then why do you seem so calm? If I were taken from my home, I would scream. I would fight. Dohan leaned against the glass from his side. They could not see each other clearly, but they both knew exactly where the other was. Fighting would not help me, he said. Screaming would not bring my home closer. The only thing I can control is myself. How I act. How I treat others. That is my freedom. No cage can take that. But you are a prisoner. My body is in a cage. My mind is not. There's a difference. This idea spread through the station like fire through dry grass. Workers began to think differently. They began to question things they had accepted their whole lives. Why did they work so hard for leaders who never thanked them? Why did they follow rules that only served to keep them afraid? Why did they treat each other as competitors instead of friends? The cook, Sue, started something small. She began leaving extra food for the night shift workers. Just a little bit. A warm meal waiting when they arrived. It was against regulations, but it made people smile. The guard, Tay, started saying good morning to everyone he passed. At first, people looked at him strangely, but after a few days, they started saying good morning back. The hallways felt less cold. The researcher, Han, finally told her supervisor that she wanted to study something different. She expected to be punished. Instead, her supervisor paused and said, I understand. I also wanted something different once. Director Bale watched these changes with horror. This is contamination, he announced at a staff meeting. His skin was dark red, the color of anger. The human is manipulating you. He's using psychological tricks to turn you against the mission. Against me. The room was silent. But it was a different kind of silence than before. Before, the staff had been silent because they were afraid. Now, they were silent because they were thinking. You want us to be afraid of kindness? Yol asked. Her voice was quiet but steady. Bale turned his 7 arms toward her. What did you say? The human has done nothing but listen to us. Talk to us. Treat us with respect. If that is manipulation, then what does it say about how we normally treat each other? Several heads nodded around the room. Bale saw this, and his skin turned pale yellow. Fear. You are dismissed, he said quickly. All of you. Back to work. The staff laughed in small groups. They whispered to each other as they walked. Something had changed. Something that could not be undone. That night, Bale went to the observation room alone. He stood before the glass and looked at the humans sleeping inside. Such a small creature. Such a weak body. And yet, somehow, this thing was tearing his station apart. "I know you are awake," Bale said. Duhan opened his eyes. He sat up slowly and faced the glass. "I was wondering when you would come. What are you doing to my people?" "I am doing nothing. I am talking to them." "Is talking so dangerous?" Bale's arms twitched with frustration. "You are changing them. They question orders. They form connections. They think for themselves. And this is bad? This is chaos. A station cannot function if everyone does what they feel. There must be rules, structure, obedience." Dohan stood up and walked closer to the glass. Even though they were the same height, Bale felt like the human was somehow larger. "Let me tell you something about my world," Dohan said. "We built civilizations that lasted thousands of years. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We flew to our moon in machines made of metal and dreams. And we did all of this not because we obeyed blindly, but because we worked together. Because we cared for each other. Because a farmer would share food with a stranger, and a stranger would help build a home for a farmer." "That is chaos," Bale repeated, but his voice was weaker now. "No, that is humanity. We are messy. We are loud. We fight and we argue, and we make terrible mistakes. But we also love. We sacrifice for each other. We see someone suffering, and we reach out our hands. This is not weakness. This is our greatest strength." Bale said nothing for a long time. Then he turned and walked away. But Dohan's words followed him. They followed him to his office. They followed him to his bed. They followed him into his dreams. And in the morning, when he looked in the mirror, Bale asked himself a question he had not asked in 30 years. "Am I happy?" He did not know the answer. But the fact that he asked was already a beginning. Meanwhile, a message arrived from the Central Council. High Arbiter Man was coming to inspect the station. She wanted to see the human for herself. She wanted to decide if the species was worth studying or if they should be classified as simple animals. The judgment was coming, but no one knew who would truly be judged. High Arbiter Man arrived on a ship made of pure crystal. It landed without sound. The doors opened without movement, and she floated out like a ghost made of light. She was the most powerful judge in the galaxy. Her body was clear like glass, with colors moving inside her like trapped stars. She had lived for 2,000 years. She had judged over 800 species. 300 of those species no longer existed because of her decisions. Director Bale met her at the landing platform. His skin kept changing colors because he could not control his fear. "High Arbiter," he said, bowing low. "Welcome to Station Orange 7. Man did not respond. She simply floated past him toward the main building. Bale hurried to follow. "We have prepared a full presentation," he said. "Data reports, video analysis, biological samples. Everything you need to make your judgment." "I do not need papers," Mine said. Her voice sounded like wind through ice caves. "I need to see the creature myself." They walked through the station. Staff members pressed themselves against walls as Man passed. Everyone knew her reputation. Everyone knew what she could do. They reached the observation room. Through the glass, Doan was sitting on his bed. He looked up when the door opened. Man floated to the glass and stopped. For a long moment, she just looked at him. Her crystalline body flickered with patterns. "Bring him out," she ordered. "High Arbiter, that is against safety protocol. Bring him out. Now." Bale pressed a button. The glass wall separated. Guards moved forward with energy restraints. They locked Dohan's hands behind his back and led him out into the main chamber. Dohan walked calmly. He showed no fear. He looked around at the assembly of beings that had gathered to judge him. There were creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had many legs. Some floated like man. Some had no visible form at all. Mayan circled him slowly, examining him from every angle. "So this is a human," she said. "The species that has caused so much curiosity. I expected something more impressive." "I apologize for disappointing you," Dawn said. A murmur went through the crowd. He spoke their language. He spoke it well. Man's form flickered brighter. "You have learned our tongue." "I have." "How?" "By listening. It is what humans do. We watch. We learn. We adapt." Man completed her circle and stopped in front of him. "You are considered prey in 17 star systems. Your species has no natural weapons. No venom, no armor, no claws. How have your people survived?" Dohun looked directly into her crystalline core. "By doing what we are doing right now, which is talking." The chamber was completely silent. "We survived because we learned to work together," Dohun continued. "Not just with other humans, but with everything around us. We tamed animals that could have killed us. We grew plants that would have poisoned us. We built shelters from trees that once blocked our paths. We turned enemies into friends. We turned the world itself into our ally." "Words," Man said. "Pretty words. But words do not protect you from teeth and claws. No, but words build bridges. And bridges connect people. And people together are stronger than any single creature with teeth or claws." Man floated higher, looking down at him. "You speak as if you have power here. You do not. I can order your species destroyed with a single word." "Yes, you can. Does that not frighten you?" Doan smiled. It was a tired smile, but also genuine. "I am afraid. Of course I am afraid. But being afraid does not mean I should stop speaking truth." He looked around at the assembly again. His eyes moved slowly from face to face, from form to form. "I have been here for 5 weeks," he said. "In that time, I have met many of you. I have listened to your stories, your fears, your hopes, and I have learned something important." "What is that?" Man asked. "You are lonely." The word hung in the air. Several beings shifted uncomfortably. "You have conquered stars," Dohan continued. "You have built stations that float in the empty dark between worlds. You have technology that seems like magic to my simple farmer eyes. But you have forgotten something basic, something that humans learn as children. And what is that? Connection, community, the simple act of asking another person how they feel and actually caring about the answer." He turned to look at Yol, who stood near the back of the crowd. Yol works double shifts because there is no one else. Not because there is truly no one, but because no one thinks to help her. No one notices that she is tired. No one asks if she needs rest. He turned to the maintenance worker. Ro is treated badly by his supervisor. Not because he does bad work, but because his supervisor is insecure. And no one speaks up. No one says this is wrong. He turned to the young researcher. Han spent years studying something she hates because she was afraid to say no. Afraid that she would be punished for wanting something different. His eyes swept across the whole assembly. "You built a zoo to study me, to decide if humans are animals or something more. But look at yourselves. Look at how you live. Look at how you treat each other. Are you sure you are the judges? Or are you also being judged?" High Arbiter Man floated lower. Her form had grown dim, the colors inside her moving slowly. "You speak dangerous words, human. I speak true words. Dangerous and true are often the same thing." For a long moment, nothing happened. The assembly held its breath. Bale's skin had gone completely white, the color of surrender dot. Then Man did something she had not done in 800 years. She laughed. It was a strange sound. like crystals chiming in wind. But it was clearly laughter. The assembly stared in shock. 5 weeks in a cage, she said. 5 weeks, and you have done what diplomats could not do in centuries. You have made me think. Thinking is free, Dawn said. Just like kindness. Man turned to face the assembly. This meeting is over. I will make my decision tonight. Return to your duties. The crowd began to leave, still stunned by what they had witnessed. Guards moved forward to take Dohon back to his cell, but Man raised one crystalline hand. Leave him. He stays with me. We have more to discuss. Bale opened his mouth to protest, then closed it. Some orders cannot be questioned, and so Park Dahan, a simple farmer from a small country on a small planet, sat down to have a conversation with the most powerful judge in the galaxy. And the universe would never be quite the same. Man and Doan talked through the night. No one knows exactly what they said to each other. The recording devices were turned off at Man's command. The guards were sent away. Only the two of them remained in that large, empty chamber, speaking words that would change history. Some say Dohan told her about his farm, about the feeling of dirt under his fingernails, about the patience required to grow things from seeds, about the way rice fields looked at sunset, golden and soft and full of promise. Some say Man told him about her long life, about the weight of judging species, about the loneliness of being so powerful that no one could be her equal, about the emptiness that came with living for 2,000 years and trusting no one. What everyone knows is what happened the next morning. Hi, Arbiter Man called a full assembly. Every being on the station gathered in the main hall. Director Bale stood at the front, his skin still the pale white of surrender. He had not slept. He did not know what was coming. Man floated to the center of the room. Beside her walked Dahan, still in his simple prison clothes, but without restraints. I have made my decision, Man announced. The room went silent. This was the moment. The judgment that would decide the fate of humanity. Species 7741, known as humans, inhabitants of the planet Earth, are hereby reclassified. Bale closed his eyes. He expected the worst. Category 8 meant extinction. Category 7 meant slavery. Category 6 meant restriction to their home planet forever. They are now Category 1. Bale's eyes snapped open. Murmurs filled the room. Category 1 was the highest classification. It meant full diplomatic status. It meant protection. It meant equality with the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. Furthermore, Man continued, Station Arndt 7 is no longer a research facility. It is now an embassy. The first embassy between the Galactic Council and the human species. She turned to look at Dawn. For a moment, something almost like warmth crossed her crystalline face. When asked to explain my decision, I will say this. We built a zoo to contain what we feared. We put this human in a cage and watched him like an animal. But he showed us that we were the ones in cages. We had simply forgotten to notice the bars. She looked out at the assembly, at the staff who had worked here for years, at the beings who had come to judge, at all the faces filled with confusion and wonder. This human did not fight us with weapons. He fought us with kindness. He did not try to escape his cage. Instead, he helped us escape ours. This is not the behavior of an animal. This is the behavior of a teacher. The room was completely still. I have lived for 2,000 years, Man said. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves and destroy each other. And in all that time, I have learned one truth. Power is not strength. True strength is the ability to change hearts without force. This human, this simple farmer, has that strength. And any species that can produce such individuals deserves not just survival, but respect. She turned to Bale. Director, your station has a new purpose. I suggest you adapt to it. Bale bowed low. He did not know what else to do. His life's work had just been transformed completely. But somewhere deep inside him, in a place he had forgotten existed, he felt something strange. It took him a moment to recognize it. Relief. After the assembly, Yul found Dohan standing alone in the observation room. He was looking at the cell that had been his home for 5 weeks. The bed was still unmade. The food machine still hummed softly. You can go home now, Yul said. The ship will take you back to Earth with full honors. You will be a hero. Dohan did not turn around. What will happen to this place? It will become an embassy. Diplomats will come. Treaties will be signed. Everything will change. And what about you? Yul paused. I do not know. I suppose I will find new work somewhere. Dohan finally turned to face her. He was smiling, but there was something else in his eyes. Thoughtfulness, a plan forming. Stay, he said. What? Stay here. Help build this place into something good. You know the station. You know the people. You could be important here. Yul's orange eyes widened. Me? I am nobody. I work the night shift. I have no rank, no power. So? I am a farmer. I have dirt under my nails and rice in my blood. Power is not about rank. It is about caring enough to do the work. He looked around the room one more time. Actually, I think I will stay too. For a while at least. You do not want to go home? I do. I miss my home every moment. But my home will still be there. This place, right now, in this moment, needs help. The soil here is terrible. Someone needs to teach you people how to grow things. Yul laughed. It was a strange sound. She could not remember the last time she had laughed. The years that followed were difficult but good. Park. Dohan started with a small garden in what had been his cell. He cleared away the bed and the machines. He brought in soil from a nearby planet. He planted seeds from Earth that a supply ship brought at his request. At first, nothing grew. The light was wrong. The water was wrong. The air was wrong. But Dohan was patient. He adjusted. He experimented. He failed and tried again. Other staff members came to help. Ro turned out to have a talent for building planter boxes. Han discovered she loved studying how plants adapted to alien conditions. Even Director Bale, slowly changing under the influence of everything that had happened, would sometimes visit the garden and stand quietly among the growing green. The garden expanded. It spread through hallways. It climbed walls. It filled empty rooms that had once been sterile and cold. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see it. They had heard stories about the human who turned a prison into a paradise. But the garden was not the most important thing that grew. Connections grew. Friendships grew. Trust grew. The station that had once been filled with fear and competition became something else. A community. A family. A home. 20 years later, when Park Do-hoon was old and gray, he stood at the center of the station and looked around at what he had built. The walls were green with life. The air smelled of flowers. Beings of 100 different species walked the halls together, talking and laughing and sharing meals. They called the station the Park now. Some said it was a translation of Do-hoon's family name. Others said it was simply what the place had become. A park, a garden, a place where living things could grow. Yol found him standing there. She was old too now. Her scales faded to a soft silver. But her eyes were still bright. The new ambassador from Earth has arrived, she said. They want to meet you. They want to meet the famous human who changed everything. Do-hoon smiled. Tell them I was just a farmer. I did what farmers do. I planted seeds. The seeds did the rest. That is too humble. Maybe. But it is also true. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, very far away, was a small blue planet where rice fields still glowed gold at sunset. He had never gone back. There had always been more work to do here, more people to help, more gardens to plant, but he did not regret it. A farmer's job is to help things grow, and he had helped an entire galaxy remember how to live. That was enough. That was more than enough, when they asked him. Years later, how one human had transformed the universe. His answer was always the same. I treated them like people. And so, they became them. The end.